88% of the work week is spent communicating, typing, talking, and going back and forth on topics until everyone is on the same page. It's time for a change. It's time for Grammarly. Grammarly's AI ensures your team gets the point across the first time, eliminating misunderstandings and streamlining collaboration. It goes beyond basic grammar to help tailor writing to specific audiences. Whether that means adding an executive summary, fine-tuning tone, or cutting out jargon in just one click. 4 out of 5 professionals say Grammarly's AI boosts buy-in and moves work forward. It integrates seamlessly with over 500,000 apps and websites, is implemented in days, and is IT approved. Join over 70,000 teams and 30 million people who trust Grammarly to elevate their communication. Visit grammarly.com/enterprise to learn more. Grammarly, enterprise-ready AI.
Earn cash back with Blue Cash Preferred from American Express, no matter how you do self-care. So whether you prefer to unwind on the couch or on the treadmill, Amex is ready to reward you. Learn more at americanexpress.com/us/explore-BCP. Terms apply.
Calaroga Shark Media. Hello and welcome to Ghost, Scary Stories. This episode is titled 8 Nights of Terror, Episode 2, The Fog of Memories.
The sea was restless that night, churning and roiling beneath a starless sky. Mark Davidson stood at the helm of his fishing boat, the Sea Mistress, squinting into the darkness. He'd been out on these waters since he was a boy, following in his father's footsteps. But something felt different tonight. The air was heavy, charged with an electricity that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. As Mark steered the boat back towards the small coastal town of Millhaven, a fog began to roll in. It started as wisps, tendrils of mist curling across the waves, but soon grew thick and impenetrable. Mark frowned, checking his instruments. The fog shouldn't be this dense, not at this time of year. Damn it all, he muttered, reducing speed. The last thing he needed was to run aground on the treacherous rocks that dotted the coastline. The fog swallowed the Sea Mistress, muffling the sound of the engine and obscuring everything beyond the bow. Mark's grip tightened on the wheel as he strained his eyes, searching for any glimpse of the lighthouse that would guide him home. A flicker of movement caught his eye. There, off the port side, a figure in the mist. Mark's heart raced as he turned the boat, trying to get a better look. The figure solidified, a man standing atop the waves, his rain slicker gleaming wetly in the boat's lights. "Hello?" Mark called out, his voice swallowed by the fog. "Are you all right?" The figure turned, revealing a face Mark knew all too well. It was old Tom Harper, a fisherman who'd gone down with his boat in a storm 5 years ago. But that was impossible. Tom was dead. As Mark watched in horror, more figures appeared in the mist. Men and women in outdated clothing, their skin pale and waterlogged, eyes dark and hollow. They surrounded the boat, their ghostly hands reaching out as if beseeching him. "No," Mark whispered, stumbling back from the wheel. "You're not real. You can't be." A woman's voice cut through the fog, familiar and achingly sad. "Mark, my boy, why did you let us die?" Mark's blood ran cold. It was his mother's voice, but she had drowned when he was just a child. How could she be here? The ghosts pressed closer, their whispers growing to a cacophony of pleas and accusations. Mark clapped his hands over his ears, squeezing his eyes shut. "Leave me alone," he shouted. "You're not real." When he opened his eyes, the apparitions were gone. The fog remained, but the sea was empty once more. Mark's hands shook as he grasped the wheel, guiding the Sea Mistress through the murk. After what felt like hours, the fog began to thin. The familiar silhouette of Millhaven's harbour came into view, and Mark let out a shaky breath. As he docked the boat, the events of the night seemed to fade like a bad dream. Maybe that's all it had been, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and the strange fog. But as Mark stepped onto the pier, he realized something was off. The harbor looked different. The boats were older models, and the buildings along the waterfront appeared weathered and outdated. A chill ran down his spine as he made his way into town, noting the old-fashioned cars parked along the streets and the antiquated storefronts. People stared as he passed, their clothing and hairstyles belonging to a bygone era. Mark's pace quickened, panic rising in his throat. What was happening? Had he somehow traveled back in time? He broke into a run, heading for his home on the outskirts of town. But when he reached the spot where his house should have been, he found only an empty lot, overgrown with weeds. No, Mark muttered, running his hands through his hair. This can't be happening. Mark Davidson, a voice called out. He turned to see an elderly woman watching him from her porch across the street. Is that really you? Mark approached cautiously. Do I know you? The woman's eyes widened in disbelief. It's me, Sarah Connolly. We were in school together, but how is this possible? You haven't aged a day since you disappeared in that fog 30 years ago. The world spun around Mark as the truth crashed over him like a wave. The fog, the ghosts, the changed town, it all made a terrible kind of sense. He hadn't traveled back in time. He'd been lost in the fog for 3 decades, trapped in some kind of limbo between worlds. I need to sit down, Mark stammered, his legs giving out beneath him. Sarah helped him to her porch, peppering him with questions he couldn't begin to answer. As the shock began to wear off, Mark's mind raced. If he'd been gone for 30 years, what had happened to his life, his family, the town he'd known?
Miami. Neon dreams. Dark desires. A killer stalks the streets, turning murder into macabre art. Introducing a new limited series podcast from Calaroga Shark Media. The Artist, A Killer's Canvas. This podcast is rated R, intended for mature audiences. The Artist, A Killer's Canvas. Available on all podcast apps now.
Earn cash back with Blue Cash Preferred from American Express, no matter how you do self-care. So whether you prefer to unwind on the couch or on the treadmill, Amex is ready to reward you. Learn more at americanexpress.com/us/explore-BCP. Terms apply.
Over the next few days, Mark struggled to come to terms with his new reality. The town had moved on without him, his parents had passed away, and his younger sister had grown old, believing him long dead. He felt like a ghost himself, wandering the streets of a Millhaven he barely recognized. But the fog wasn't finished with Mark. Each night, it rolled in from the sea, bringing with it the spirits of the drowned. They whispered to him of secrets long buried, of dark deeds committed by the town's founding families, of a curse that had haunted Millhaven for generations. Mark found himself drawn to the harbor each night, standing at the edge of the pier as the ghostly figures emerged from the mist. They spoke of a great injustice, a sacrifice made to ensure the town's prosperity. The spirits were restless, unable to move on until the truth was revealed and the wrong was righted. As Halloween approached, the veil between worlds grew thinner and the fog became almost constant. The townspeople huddled in their homes, whispering about the strange occurrences and the man who had returned from the dead. Mark knew he had to act to uncover the truth behind Millhaven's dark history and put the restless spirits to peace. But as he delved deeper into the mystery, Mark began to question everything he thought he knew about himself and his place in this story. Was he truly the man who had disappeared 30 years ago? Or was he something else entirely? A spirit given flesh by the fog's dark magic. The truth, he feared, might be more terrifying than anything he had encountered in the mist. And as Halloween drew near, Mark Davidson stood at the precipice of a mystery that threatened to consume not just him, but the entire town of Millhaven. The fog continued to roll in, bringing with it the whispers of the dead and the secrets of the past. And somewhere in that mist, the answer to Mark's true identity and his destiny awaited.
Ghost is a Calaroga Shark media production, written and hosted by Alexander Ian McIntyre, produced by Mark Francis, executive producers Mark Francis and John McDermott. Portions of this podcast may have been created with the assistance of AI.
This show, along with hundreds of others from Calaroga Shark Media, is available commercial-free on any player, hassle-free. Just look for the link in the episode or show notes. Ghost now has merch. Find shirts, mugs, and more with the Ghost logo for sale at our merch store. There's free shipping and 10% off now with the coupon NEWMERCH10. Did we say there's free shipping? Check out all the goods at calaroga.com, that's CALOROGA.com, or just look for the link in the show notes. Thanks for supporting the show, we really appreciate it.
Calaroga Shark Media.
With the American Express Platinum Card, you can earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked through Amex Travel, which means 5 times the relaxation. Get more from where you go with the American Express Platinum Card. Learn more at americanexpress.com/US/explore-platinum. Terms and points can apply.
Hi, we're James.
And Mary.
We've been retired for 15 years and never been busier.
Life's tight, but we eat right by making whole grain sandwiches and chopped veggies.
We're heading out to our grandkids' soccer game, so prepping meals saves us time and money and makes lunch easy to pack.
Learn how you could eat right when life's tight. Visit snapedny.org.
SNAP-Ed is funded by USDA Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.